Welcome to Boardroom Scriptures, where we break down Bible stories and extract real business, career, and life strategies, especially for our Nigerian reality. Because the truth is, some people are not just trying to grow, they are trying to survive systems that were never designed for them to succeed. Today's story, Joseph in Egypt, or better put, how do you rise when the system is already against you? So let's have a relatable narration again on this story. Of course, you find that story in the book of Genesis, chapter 37, all through, and again from 39, all through to 41. Now, Joseph starts as a favored son. Remember from the last episode where we talked about Jacob and Laban, we talked about the fact that Joseph was born to Rachel, Jacob's favorite wife. I think that's what we should call it, or Jacob's beloved, Jacob's most loved wife. So Joseph was her first son. And of course, while he was still very young, his mother tried to have a second child, Benjamin, and died in the process. So all the love that Jacob had, he had to transfer it to Joseph, more like all the love he had for Rachel, he had to transfer it to Joseph at that point. So yes, Joseph started as a favored son. He had big dreams. He had a clear vision, right? But there was poor timing in it, because he shares his dream with his brothers and they hate him for it. The challenge is that there was nothing wrong with his dreams, but it was the time he shared it, the timing was wrong, and it ended up making his brothers hate him for it. Then the brothers go ahead and sell him to slavery, and then let's take a pause there. Remember here, Joseph did not apply for this job. He was literally trafficked into it. He was sold into slavery. He gets to Egypt and is bought by Potiphar. But then something interesting happens. You know, the Bible says that the Lord was with Joseph and he prospered, even as a slave. It becomes so effective that Potiphar hands over his entire household to him. Everything is working. Then again, suddenly, scandal. Potiphar's wife accuses him falsely. No investigation, no HR processes, straight to prison. Now, Joseph is no longer in the office. He is in a forgotten system, the prison. But again, the same pattern. It becomes useful. He starts interpreting dreams. He helps people. He adds value. And one day, he interprets the dream of the Pharaoh's cupbearer. And he says something very human there. He says, please, remember me when you get out. But what happens? The man gets out truly, like Joseph prophesied or like Joseph foretold in his dreams. But the man forgets him for 2 years. Then one day, Pharaoh has a dream that nobody can solve. Now, that same man who had forgotten about him remembers Joseph. Joseph is brought out, he interprets the dream, and he proposes a strategy. And in one moment, from prison, he becomes prime minister. Now, that's the story in a nutshell. Now, when we come back, we're going to look into the business breakdown. Thank you. Okay, now, so let's look at it from the business context here, right? And I'm going to, again, go with 7 points. The first point we have here is that you can be gifted and still be misunderstood. We saw the story with Joseph there. Joseph was gifted. It was obvious, right? He had grace upon him. He had dreams. He had dreams where he saw the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowing down to him, which reflected his brothers. He had aspirations. He knew he was destined for greatness. But then, right, still, like I said, you can be gifted but still be misunderstood. Joseph had clarity, but sharing it wrongly cost him. In the workplace, it's not every idea you have that should be shared immediately. Sometimes you have to take it easy. You have to calm down. Understand the situation. Understand your environment first before you begin to share some ideas. And again, not every environment can handle your vision. Joseph had a dream. He saw himself. He saw the sun, the stars, and he saw the moon and the 11 stars bowing down to him. But when the people he shared it with, they don't understand it. So not every environment can handle your vision. You might have a vision, but because the environment you are cannot handle it, sharing the vision in that environment almost becomes like wasting that particular vision, because you have dream killers and you have vision killers in that environment you have found yourself. Now, what is the lesson from this first point, which is you can be gifted and still be misunderstood? The first lesson there is that wisdom is not just what you know, it's when and where you say it. Wisdom is not just what you know, it's when and where. When, the timing, where, the location, when and where you say it. That ends the first point. We're going to go into the second point now. Now, point 2 here is that your starting point does not define your ceiling. Your starting point does not define your ceiling. Of course, we see Joseph there. If you look at his career, the real career of his, he started as a slave, right? Then a foreigner. He started as a foreigner. He started as a prisoner. But eventually, we see that as much as everything was against him, he kept rising. He kept rising. While he was a slave in Potiphar's house, he was put over the entire household. While he was in prison, again, that grace stood out. His excellence, his level of excellence stood out and stood him out in every sphere. So as much as he was a slave, he was a foreigner, and he was a prisoner, everything was against him, but he kept rising. And the lesson you have there is that your environment may limit you, but it does not have to define you. Joseph could have as well decided that, oh, after all, look at me, all my dreams, there is no point to it. It's a forgotten case. What happened to me? I had dreams of becoming this, becoming that, but yet everything was slammed against me. But yet he never allowed that to define him. He continued to do the work. He continued to put in the best, and he stood out every time. So you see that as much as the environment may limit you, you cannot allow it to define who you are. Not your current situation cannot define who you are. It's up to you as a person to determine what defines you. Now that takes us to the third point there, which is that excellence is a strategy. Excellence is a strategy. You know, it's very easy to get carried away, especially when you're in a place where people are just doing things anyhow. Fortunately, we live in a society like that in Nigeria. A lot of nonsense happens. A lot of things just go that way, and they say that's how it is done. You can't afford to say because you're in a society or because you're in a situation where everyone is doing things anyhow, you also choose to do things anyhow. Excellence can be a strategy, yes. And look at Joseph's case here. Joseph didn't complain his way up. He didn't complain. He kept trying to see, how can I fix this? How can I solve this problem? He was a problem solver everywhere he was. Right from when he was in Potiphar's house, all the way into the prison, and even he ended up solving the problems of the king of the world, I dare say, because at that point, Pharaoh was the most powerful in the world. So he was able to not only solve problems of little people, he went all the way to solving problems of the who is who. He didn't complain his way up, he walked his way up. In Potiphar's house, he became indispensable. In prison, he became valuable. He was not just there. He stood out. There was something about him that made everyone know that that is the guy you go to. He became the go-to guy, basically. What's the lesson from point 3? Excellence is a strategy. In dysfunctional systems, excellence becomes your visibility. When you're in a system that is dysfunctional, where things are just done anyhow, your excellence is what stands you out. That's what makes you visible. That's what makes people know that there's a difference about this person. Because in most cases, when problems need to be solved, is those ones who have displayed excellence at different stages that get called. Now that takes us to the fourth point. Number 4, integrity will cost you, but it will also protect you. Integrity will cost you, but it will also protect you. Now see what happened there. Joseph said no to Potiphar's wife, remember? It cost him his position, because remember, it was like the chairman of the house, not chairman per se. It was in charge of the entire house. As far as Potiphar, in fact, at the point, Joseph told Potiphar's wife, while she was trying to tempt him, that my boss, right, my Lord Potiphar, has given me authority over everything in this house except you. So Joseph had authority over everything, was in command of everything, but he recognized that as much as I'm in command of everything, my boss's wife is not under my command. I cannot do this thing. And what did he say? How will I do this thing and sin against the Lord? It was not about how would I do this thing and sin against my master. It was about my principles, my integrity there. So it cost him, yes, because what happened there, he was lied upon, and immediately he was cast into prison. All right, it didn't just end there. It cost him his position, but just imagine he said yes. Imagine Joseph had said yes. It can tell you, because immediately he becomes the baby boy. He becomes the sweet man. Because most of the time, I can assure you, Potiphar was hardly around. Potiphar was the king's captain of the guard. So he was always on business. Potiphar was hardly around. So it was just going to be Joseph and Potiphar's wife. So imagine he had said yes. Joseph would have had the time of his life. He probably would have enjoyed everything, enjoyed his master's wife's body, at the same time, enjoyed a lot of benefits and a lot of perks, but he would never have risen from that place. He also loses credibility, and there will have been no reason why he would stand before Pharaoh. Because there will have been nothing that would take Joseph to prison. He will have remained in Potiphar's house and probably died there, because remember, he was a slave. I mean, I see a lot of medieval movies and I see how slaves rise. I mean, there's a particular movie that I like a lot, Spartacus. And I saw how slaves, we had Crixus, we had Spartacus, we had Onomeus. For those who might remember, you can drop it in the comment section. These men were all slaves, but they rose even within that hierarchy, but they remained slaves no matter what. They never rose beyond the level of slaves that they were. Even as much as they had honor, their names were being called in the arena and all that, but they remained slaves. So basically, Joseph would not have reasoned beyond that. He probably would have died a slave in Potiphar's house, a slave with influence. That's what he would have become eventually. What is the lesson from this number 4 point? Some shortcuts destroy the future you are praying for. Because it could have been a shortcut for Joseph to agree to Potiphar's wife, to sleep with her. Yes, he would have had a better life in Potiphar's house, but that would have cost him his future. Moreover, if we also be honest to ourselves, what if he got caught? Because he could. In most cases, like the movies I just talked about, they always get caught. That is the truth. Many of, in the medieval times, we had a lot of dominas, what they call them, or house mistresses, or madams, yeah, let me use our local parlance, who, because their husbands are always not around, always out on business, on politics, they get attracted to their slaves. They get attracted, and it even happens in today's world. But they always get caught eventually. And of course, we know what the punishment for that is. Even in Joseph's case, he was really lucky, to be honest to ourselves. Because the truth is that with that accusation that he tried to sleep with his master's wife, that was instant death. So it was the grace of God that kept him from Potiphar not putting him to death. He would have died. He would have been killed instantly. But perhaps maybe Potiphar had the second thought about it. And that's why he said, let me just throw you to prison instead. And even in that prison, Joseph continued to flourish. We go to the 5th point now. It says, not everyone you help will help you back. This is something you need to all remember. Very, very important. It's a principle. Not everyone you help will help you back. You need to understand that. A lot of times when you do things for people or you do good to people and you begin to wonder, when they get to push you, they forget about you. Perhaps you're someone who has helped a lot of people in the past and now things are not so well for you. And you're feeling very bad because some of the people you even assisted that you helped, you see them rising and doing very well and they seem to have forgotten about you. It's a life principle. Not everyone you help will help you back. In fact, the way life is wired to actually go against you. You're supposed to fight back and get what it is from life. Life would never hand over everything to you on the platter of gold. You have to fight for it. You have to struggle for it. And eventually, when you overcome, what happens? Life submits to you and gives you what you deserve and what you desire. So basically, from what we saw in the case of Joseph there, it was forgotten. It was forgotten. If he had said yes to Potiphar's wife, he would have lost his credibility, would have never stood before Pharaoh, and some shortcuts, again, going back to the point 4 there. But coming back to point 5, basically, we see that not everyone you help will help you back. Joseph helped the cupbearer. Remember, he helped the cupbearer because he told him his dream. He was one who gave the cupbearer hope that someday you will be restored. And it was that hope the cupbearer continued to have, and eventually was actually restored. But the cupbearer forgot him for 2 full years. In Nigeria today, you find out that you recommend someone to a particular position, they forget about you. They don't even tell you thank you. Or they just say thank you and that is it. And when they are in positions of influence to help you, they give you excuses, forgetting that it was your help, your assistance that brought them to that position. You also find cases where you help someone and they just move on. They just move on and you never hear from them again. You need to remember that your reward is not with them. Your reward, it is God that rewards. And God chooses how he wants to reward you. So don't expect people, because they are human. They will always play the script life has handed over to them. Life will not treat you fairly. So you need to have that at the back of your mind and know that when things happen, take it. If it doesn't go the way you expect to, just take it and keep doing the best to get the best out of life. Now, what's our lesson from here? Don't build your expectations on human loyalty. Build your consistency on purpose. Don't build your expectations upon human loyalty. Humans are not loyal. No human being. At best, every human being will seek out his own good first before considering the greater good. So no human being is loyal. Loyalty is good, but you won't find them all the time. So you need to build your life with consistency on purpose. And we go to the 6th point here, which is preparation always meets opportunity. Preparation meets opportunity. So basically, if you're not prepared, when the opportunity comes, it's likely you will lose out on that opportunity because you're not prepared for it. So you might prepare and keep preparing, and the opportunity might not come when you expect. You need to keep staying. You need to stay prepared continuously so that when the opportunity comes, it finds you ready for it. Let's look at the story of Joseph. When Joseph finally stood before Pharaoh, he didn't just interpret the dream. If you notice, it was not just about him telling the dream. That, okay, this is your dream. This is interpretation. He presented a strategy. He told Pharaoh, start growing during the abundance period. Prepare for famine because you only have 7 years for abundance. After these 7 years, there's going to be a mad famine for another 7 years. So prepare for that famine in advance. And finally, create a national economic plan. Basically, that's what Joseph prescribed to Pharaoh. And that's what he did. And that's why during the 7 years of famine, what happened? Nations from all over the world were coming to Egypt. Egypt became the center of the world, the most powerful economy in the world. Just like we have some economies today that a lot of other economies depend on. That was what Egypt became. The entire world economy depended on Egypt because of the strategy that Joseph had presented. So he was not only prepared, he presented the strategy, interpreted the dream, presented a clear strategy, and they were able to find themselves surviving even in the time of famine. What is the lesson from this? In fact, because of the way Joseph presented that platform, that blueprint to Pharaoh, Pharaoh said, who else can do this? There is nobody else. It became indispensable. No one else. He said, who else is wiser than you? Who can prescribe this? And that's what happened eventually. Joseph became the governor of Egypt. I dare say the governor of the entire world. Because Pharaoh told him that only in the throne shall I be greater than you. In every other thing, you're number one. Now that takes us to the 7th point here now. The lesson from 6th point first. Let's take the lesson. So the lesson from the 6th point here is that opportunities don't just need dreamers. They need problem solvers. Yeah, we need to dream, right? Dream, have big plans, big visions for the opportunities that prepare ourselves. But then it's not just about to have the dream. You need to be a problem solver. What problem are you solving down your workplace? As a business person, what problem are you solving? What are you indispensable to your clients? What is that thing that your clients know you are the only one that can solve it? These are the things that stood Joseph out, even in the place of discomfort. Now, and the 7th and the final point here, right, is that systems respect results, not stories. A lot of us have stories. Oh, when I started from here. I started from the ground up, and look at me. It's not about the stories. It's about the result. If you don't have results, if you tell your story, nobody's going to listen to you. But it's your results that will speak. It's your results that will make people interested in the stories you have to tell. Because there's a story behind the glory, or a story that actually backs that result. It's not the stories that are respected. It is the results. Right. Joseph didn't say, I have suffered. I have been in prison. No. He saw the national problem, and immediately the system made a space for him. It made space for him. And that's how life is. When life comes at you, stand firm, fight it. The minute you're able to overcome, life itself will serve you. And that's what happens. And then you can make your demand for life, get everything you demand and everything you deserve. He solved the national problem, and immediately the system made a space for him. What's the lesson from this 7th point? Results will open doors that emotions cannot. Many times we get emotional. We try to expect emotions to do things for us. Emotions will not give you the results. Emotions will not give you those the results that open the doors. Doors that emotions cannot open, results will open them for you. All right, welcome back. Let's take it now to the Nigerian reality check, right? Still we're looking at the story of Joseph in Egypt. When you are battling against a system that is designed not to favor you. Paraphrasing that. Now, let's be honest. Many people feel like Joseph. They work in systems that are stacked against them. And really, nepotism is real. We see the story of Joseph there. Like I like to jokingly say, Joseph was more like the first nepo baby, right? Because of the way his father favored him over his brothers. He brought a lot of enmity there. So nepotism is real. It didn't just start today. We've been having nepo babies and nepotism being played right from time immemorial, from the days of the Bible, right? Opportunities are not always fair. You need to understand that too. Opportunities are not always fair. Sometimes they come for people who don't even deserve them. But that's just what life is about, how life is, right? And hard work is not always immediately rewarded. A lot of times you're going to work hard, put in your best, do so much, but you don't get the recognition you deserve. Most of the time, that's just what life looks like and how life is designed, right, to operate. But here's the question. In spite of all this, are you still building capacity, or are you just complaining? That's the question you need to answer for yourself. Are you building through the process? You saw what Joseph did, and that's how life is designed. The more life comes at you, it expects you continue to build capacity, resilience, grit, courage, strength. And the more you keep doing this, the stronger you become. And eventually life gives way for you, and life allows you. Life surrenders to you. And that's what actually happened to Joseph there. So you don't want to just keep complaining. You want to keep building capacity. Because Joseph kept building even while in prison. Now, let's take a few questions, some deep questions I'd like you to answer for yourself. So again, let's think about this. All right. If you were Joseph, would you still give your best in prison? Reality, let's look at it. If you were Joseph, with everything you've gone through, for things you did not do, you were sold to slavery, from there you were falsely accused and thrown into prison, would you still give your best or would you get tired? Answer that question for yourself. Besides, another question, would you have helped the cupbearer knowing he might forget you? Because I'm sure there will have been traces. Joseph will have seen that this cupbearer might not, in fact, the fact that he got into prison meant probably he was not really a serious person, you know. So there would have always been that sign that this person I'm trying to help might not even remember me. But Joseph decided. So would you have helped the cupbearer, even though you know he might forget you? Would you go ahead and say, I beg, this guy will not remember me. Let me just go ahead and not even get interested in his matter? Number 3 question. Was Joseph's rise favor or preparation meeting opportunity? These are questions you need to answer for yourself. And finally, are you currently in a prison season or a preparation phase? You can think about it. How do you want to look at it? The same way we say there is a cup half full and half empty. You could decide to look at that, your cup that looks half empty, as a prison season. Or you can decide to look at it as the one that is half full, as a preparation stage. The way you perceive it, your perception is what determines what your reality will be. In closing, Joseph's story is not just about suffering. It is about strategy under pressure. He didn't just wait for breakthrough. He built competence, he maintained character, and when that moment came, he was ready. This is Boardroom Scriptures, where faith meets strategy and Bible stories become real life business lessons. The next episode, Solomon, why wisdom is the most underrated business advantage. My name is Michael Olugbenga Shile. It's been nice being here. See you in the next episode.